Welcome to another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Paul Boucher. I'm the President and CEO of the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. And as we do each week, we bring you the activities going on during the week and have a special guest. And this week being no different, we have with us Senator David Pierce, who represents Senate District 5. Give us some insights of this last year's legislature, things that went on there, positive, negatives, and then his experiences in his long term in Concord. But first, activities that are coming up, we all hear and talk about the Prouty, which is the big event that happens in July in the Upper Valley, and it's July 11th and 12th, and they've got short runs, bikes, or long ones if you want to do over 100 miles. And always looking for participants and sponsors. You can hit theprouty.org at their website to get further information, how you can participate. And a lot of volunteers. I know the chamber directors for a number of years. We'd get up right at dawn and be making coffee and donuts for those participants. And we did that for a number of years. So they're looking for different types of people to volunteer and make coffee, donuts, just staff the different points with water as the participants go through. So I again go to theprouty.org and get some more information on that. And then we have a full summer activity with the Lebanon Farmers Markets. Farmers Markets are Thursdays from 4 to 7 p.m., followed by the Front Porch Series, which is concerts every Thursday, right following that. Each week, the Farmers Market has entertainment themselves, and coming up on the 3rd is Wayne Duvall, who will be playing July 10th, Bobby and Me, and these are at Lebanon Farmers Markets. Also beginning this coming week on Thursday is what they call the Front Porch Series, and that begins at 4 p.m. And then Mondays we have the community band that plays. We have the Monday concerts beginning at 7. Sometimes they have a warm-up act that starts at 6 or 6:30, but that's on Monday. So activities almost all week long here on the green in Lebanon. We encourage you to participate. At the Lebanon Opera House, they're having Lucinda Williams, and she'll be a very popular entertainer, and I'm sure that'll be a sellout. So I would suggest you call 448-0400 to reserve your spot there. And again, at Ava Gallery, registration is now open for their summer art classes and workshops, and it's for everyone, for children, teens, and adults. And you can call there and find some activity that your children could participate in and keep them busy this summer. So that's at Ava Gallery. Their number there is 448-3117. And again, art classes, workshops, all types of photography, sculpturing, painting, all kinds of activities that you can participate in. We also have the Small Business Administration, SBA, is doing assistance for new and existing businesses, and this is being held at the New Hampshire Corporate Division in Concord, and these run through 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. These are always on a Wednesday, and no appointment necessary, but I would suggest you call Miguel Morales at 225-1601. That's area code 603 for further information. And SBA it's all a free service, and they help you either if you want to start a business, experiencing some issues that you want to deal with, they'll help you with that. And they also do financing also through the local banks to help you with that. And that's through the SBA. And we expect coming up with the 4th of July, the travel and tourism business is expected to reach 14.9 million visitors over that long weekend. Total summer, this is hard to believe, but they expect visitors will be spending 1.95 billion in that's great. That helps the economy. We are actually, tourism is the second largest industry in New Hampshire following manufacturing. So as we hope that the weather holds well for that, and that we have a lot of visitors come to the state and shop in our shops and eat in our restaurants. We have Career Skills Workshop that is Wednesday, July 9th at the VA Hospital. And then there's a Career Workshop Resource Expo, again at the VA. And this is sponsored by the National Guard and Reserve, and open to veterans who are seeking career skills workshops and career opportunities. And so you can call 802-296-5171 to participate there and get some more information. So those are some of the activities going on in the Upper Valley this coming week. And we welcome Dave Pierce to our program today. David is our senator from District 5. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here. And this is actually the completion of your first tour, if you will, in the Senate, but you served in the House before.
I did. 3 terms in the House beforehand.
Yeah, so those were 2-year terms and
Correct.
6 years total in the House. How big a difference did you find working from the House?
Huge difference. In the House, with 400 members, you're assigned to one committee, and so you really are able to develop an expertise on a very narrow set of issues. In the Senate, with only 24 members, you have to become an expert in a lot of issues because there's so fewer number of legislators to address all the issues that are coming to the legislature. So I served on the Commerce Committee, which I dealt with, which has jurisdiction over the Insurance Department, the Labor Department, and the Health and Human Services has some issues there. And I also served on the Public and Municipal Affairs Committee, which had all sorts of municipal issues, election law, just a wide range of issues. So your first term in the Senate, I think, is mostly an education. It's incumbent upon the senator to study up, but it's a real challenge. But it's a challenge I loved. I loved meeting.
And your first term in the Senate, was that when there was quite a bit of realignments of the districts also?
Yes. In 2010, the census data came out, and the legislature in 2011 or 2012 passed a redistricting proposal. District 5, before the 2012 election, stretched from west to east. Included Hanover, Lebanon, Plainfield, but went as far over as Franklin and Hill.
Oh.
Right. Now, District 5 runs all along the river, from Lyme in the north all the way to Charlestown, but also includes Enfield and Canaan.
Wow, that was quite a bit of change.
Yes.
In
Yes.
the legislature. Highlights of this past year, things that you felt good about that the Senate undertook and passed or didn't pass.
Right. I think one of the very first pieces of legislation which passed the Senate unanimously was a tax credit, the Research and Development Tax Credit, where the legislature made it permanent and doubled it from $1 million available to New Hampshire businesses to make it $2 million. Studies have shown that is a very good tool for creating jobs, for creating more opportunities for business. All 24 of us in the Senate co-sponsored the legislation. It passed the Senate unanimously, went to the House, sailed through the House, and was very quickly signed by Governor Hassan. One of the other, probably the other really big issue in the legislature this time was Medicaid expansion, where 58,000 people living in the Granite State were identified as being eligible for health coverage under Medicaid if we had passed the program, and we did. It's not a bill that I would have crafted, and it's probably not a bill that the other side of the aisle would have crafted if they had their way. But in a true show of bipartisanship, we crafted something that that brought both sides together and got passed, and Governor Hassan signed. And so now 58,000 Granite Staters now have health coverage. Economically, what that means is that when they go to the hospital, they're like to the emergency room, for example, their visit there will be covered by insurance, by Medicaid, rather than the hospital like Hitchcock or APD having to write that off as uncompensated care. So it helps our hospitals, it helps our economy, and what that does is if a person getting services from local healthcare providers is insured, then that keeps everyone's premiums down, because otherwise the cost of the uncompensated care before Medicaid expansion, that cost was spread to all of us.
Of course, yeah.
And so it's a downward pressure on premiums. And there was an article in the Valley News just this past week about how under the new healthcare law, 38,000 people, I think this is related to Medicaid expansion, but 38,000 new people signed up for the for insurance under the healthcare exchange program that was just instituted. They had predicted 20,000, I believe, so more than, almost doubled the number that went onto the exchange. People, I think between 60 and 70% of the people are reporting that their premiums are $100 or less a month for coverage, and they didn't have coverage before. And of course, the lower your income under the federal law, you're eligible for subsidies for paying those premiums. There's still some kinks in the system that we have to work out. Probably the biggest, one of the big issues we also had to deal with this time was the fact that Anthem was the only provider that signed up to offer plans in the exchange. And a big controversy was that they decided to build a narrow network of providers. So they only picked 10 hospitals out of the state to participate, or maybe they excluded 10 hospitals. There are 26 hospitals in total, and for instance, Valley Regional Hospital in Claremont was not included in the exchange, which is, Claremont's in District 5, and so I fought hard for that to try to get them included.
Alice Spectator is similarly, wasn't it?
APD was not, was also not included. Hitchcock was. But what's promising, and what this article in the Valley News showed this past week, is that a number of new entrants are coming in, have submitted plans, insurance carriers have submitted plans to the insurance department to participate in the exchange for 2015. And every hospital has been picked up in at least one of those networks.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, so the law is working.
So this the more the competition, the better the price, I guess.
That's the
premise.
That's the very premise of
Yeah.
it. Yes.
So if somebody does not qualify, again, Medicaid expansion, somebody is really either low salaries or not able to work, that type of thing, will come under the Medicaid
Yes,
extension.
you're eligible for Medicaid coverage now up to 138% of the federal poverty level, which means if you make for a single person, I think it's like $15,000 or less a year, you're eligible for Medicaid. And after that, that's when the exchange subsidies kick in, and you can buy insurance on the exchange. So coverage is expanding pretty rapidly, which is one of the principal goals of the legislation. The downward pressure on premiums is coming to bear. The jury's still out on how that will happen. Whether these new products by these new entrants onto the exchange what their premiums will be. But it is expected they will be lower because of the competition.
Yeah. In the same vein, and I understand some of it, but not all of it, where the hospitals were taxed a certain amount, and then it goes to they receive funds, it goes to the hospital, they're taxed, and it goes back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that issue because of the expanded Medicaid? Is that issue's been resolved, or?
We passed legislation to address that issue.
Okay.
To say it was resolved would be a very optimistic way of looking
Okay.
at things.
Okay.
It's called the Medicaid Enhancement Tax, and it was a shell game for a number of years in which, on a particular day of the fiscal year, the hospitals would pay, I think it was 6% or 5.5% of their of net hospital revenues, pay it to the state. And on that exact same day, the state would remit back to the hospital, dollar for dollar, what they just got from the hospitals. And because of that payment back to the hospitals, the state government was then able to claim a matching grant from the federal government. And so
It was complicated.
it was
Yeah.
very complicated. Yeah, the legislature in 2011, however, stopped that kind of maneuvering, such that the hospitals merely were obligated just to pay the tax without any
Yes.
reimbursement. And so that really hit District 5 pretty hard, because Hitchcock alone, that was $100 million right there. So it took $100 million out of the economy. So what we've done is we passed a law this time. Governor Hassan is expected to sign it this week. That lowers the rate, but increases the amount going back to the hospitals from what happened in the 2011-2012 session. So, but it's going to be an ongoing issue, because the reason that new legislation had to be passed is because some hospitals had filed suit, saying that the tax was unfairly discriminatory, in singling out hospitals for taxation rather than other providers of the same services. But the hospitals came together along with the state government, the Senate, the House, and the governor, and a solution was worked out. It's gonna be an ongoing issue, though.
I know, I was sitting on the board at the time with the Alice Peck Day, and just for a small hospital like that, it was like $3 million for a small hospital.
Right, which is a huge
Which-
part of their
right.
budget.
And it's similarly to, well, to back off for a second, I know from my business community, the research and development credit has been, well received. They're very
Right.
happy to see that.
Right.
But there's one thing that I keep getting calls here at the office is on the franchise. Is that the franchise tax, where you pay a tax based on your payroll?
It's called the Business Enterprise Tax.
Enterprise tax.
Yes,
And that one I hear a lot of complaints.
of course.
Because it's based on payroll. So the company could be losing money
Right.
and still have to pay
It's
this
still,
franchise.
right,
Yeah, right.
right.
Any light at the end of the tunnel that might be addressed again?
Well,
Or-
the business profits tax is a tax assessed on the money that a company makes. So if it's losing money, it owes no BPT.
Correct.
Business enterprise tax, like you said, even if they're losing money, it's assessed on the enterprise value of the business, which is roughly the amount of payroll. And I know that you serve on a statewide commission looking at business taxes, and so you have some insights into that as well. But that is a perennial problem that businesses complain of, because of it's not linked really to your ability to pay.
To be able, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And some years ago, we had the LLC issue too,
Mm-hmm.
of what was considered a wage or a salary for the partners to take,
Right.
type of thing. And I know I worked with one of your colleagues, Senator Sanborn, on that issue, and Matt Hood, who was previously Senate 5. And with those two on that issue, and that was resolved
Right.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the change in the districts, but this year I think there's a lot of changes in who is running and not running.
Right.
How many seats do you know
That are open?
that people are not running for re-election?
Yeah,
Every day I pick up the paper, somebody's not.
They're Senator Sylvia Larson, who's served as
Yeah.
the Democratic leader for a number of years, and the Senate president when the Democrats were in control, announced that she's not running for re-election, and that's the Concord area. District 11, which is Milford, Senator Peter Bragdon, who had served as Senate president, is not running for re-election. Senator Bob Odell from right here, District 8, which is a fixture of Upper Valley politics, has decided to call it quits, and so he's not running, so that seat is open. And then there's District 19, which is Derry. Senator Roush has decided not to run. So there are 4 open seats this
Wow.
time.
Yeah. Could that make a big impact on the Senate come election time?
It could.
I mean,
It could, because it's much easier for an opposing party to grab an open seat than it is to unseat an incumbent. Just the power of incumbency. And so that could have, for instance, if the Democrats pick up District 8, we now have the Senate partisan balance right now is 13 Republicans, 11 Democrats.
Ooh, it's close.
It's very close.
Very close.
And there are a number of issues that passed 13 to 11 or
Yeah.
failed 13 to 11. But so if Democrats pick up District 8, then it'll be 12-12. There are a number of districts where there is an incumbent running, but the race in 2012 was very, very close. District 9, for instance, Senator Sanborn's seat from Bedford, he won in 2012 only by 200-something votes. And the Democratic challenger in 2012, is running again for that seat. District 6, which is over in Stratford County, that incumbent won by only 250 votes. So, it's not only was the Senate closely split, but, I think we've calculated if Democrats had gotten 600 votes more among the candidates that lost, we would have had a 13 to 11 majority.
We're going the other way, 13 to 11.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just surprised where Senator Sanborn, who just basically moved from
He
his
did.
district. He was
did.
around the Bradford Warner area, whatever that district
Henniker,
was,
right.
Henniker area, and moved to
Bedford.
Bedford and got elected.
Right.
That quickly.
Right.
It goes to say, because he's a very hardworking senator.
He is. He is.
And his wife also, who was in the House,
Right.
very hardworking individual there.
And Representative Lori Sanborn is, as I understand, is running for Speaker of the House.
Oh,
So if the Republicans regain the majority in the House,
Yeah.
she'll be running up against Bill O'Brien for the Speaker's role.
yeah.
I don't know if you know, you probably do, but Senator Sanborn grew up here in
Oh, yeah.
Lebanon.
Well, I hate to say it when I knew him when he was
Yeah, okay.
His folks are still here, mother and father are
Right.
still here, and
Right.
I've known him for a real long time.
Right, and they have a house over on Lake Mascoma.
Oh, yes.
I was biking down the rail trail the other day, just about ran into them
Oh,
on
yes.
my way
Yep,
home.
that was grandmother's house at one
Right.
point, and right there at the head of the lake.
Right.
So that's going to might make a big difference come this time. And even in the House, locally, Representative Lori
Harding.
is not running for re-election.
Correct.
And there's quite a few Republicans that have come out this particular time
Right.
to run for the House seats. And there are 3 seats here in Lebanon.
Yeah,
And,
4.
4 seats.
Mhm.
And so other than the other incumbents are running on a Democratic ticket, a new person on the 4th, and then all brand new candidates on the Republican side.
Yeah.
So it'll make things interesting.
And there were 2 retirements in the Hanover Lime District as well.
Also,
Representative Bernie Ben, who had been there
yes.
for a number of years, served on Finance Committee. Very, great representative for Hanover and Lime, has decided not to run again. And Representative Pastor from Lime has decided not to run again. And so there are 2 new faces coming online in Hanover and Lime to run for those seats.
It's a lot of work for the salary you get. Your total, what is it,
It is.
$100 a session, and all the work, as you say. I mean, a lot of it, some of it is done on the floor of the House or the Senate, but then it's the research work and
Yes.
the background work
Yes.
that you have to
Yes.
do to. And your opponent is who?
I don't have one.
Oh.
Yes, I am very fortunate. I am very fortunate. I don't have an opponent this time. On the Democratic side, there's my seat, District 5, or the District 5 seat. There's no contest. And District 10, which is Keene, there's no contest there either. Democrat is unopposed. On the Republican side, District 22, which is Senate President Chuck Morse, has no Democratic opposition. And currently in District 16, which is North Manchester and Hooksett, there is no Democrat signed up.
So the primaries is in September,
September 9th.
September
Yes.
9th, and then November will be the 4th, and
With the general election.
with the general election.
Right.
And I'm not sure, I haven't kept up with that part. Is the governor running unopposed, or is there?
No, she's not. She's got a primary. She's got
Okay.
two people in the Democratic primary up against her. And on the Republican side, there are a number of people who have signed up. Probably what the conventional wisdom is that the most formidable opponent on the Republican side is this gentleman named Walt Havenstein, who right now has filed his own action before the Ballot Law Commission to get its determination. In fact, I think the hearing is today. To get its determination that he is qualified to run, because there have been a lot of controversy. He claimed a homestead exemption in Maryland. The state constitution says that you have to be an inhabitant of New Hampshire for 7 years prior to running.
It's 7 years, that's
Right.
okay.
Same as for a state senator. But within that 7 years, he claimed a homestead exemption in Maryland, which in that application, as I understand it, he was required to affirm that he considered that place to be his primary residence. And so he did a preemptive strike. He filed an action with the Ballot Law Commission to get its determination that he is qualified to run. The Democratic Party has intervened to contest his ability to run, and the hearing is today. I'm not sure when the decision will come out.
Did former Senator Brown from Massachusetts have to do the same thing?
No,
because he had.
Because it's not that it's any different, because he did just move into New Hampshire. But the state constitution, of course, cannot govern the residency requirements for a federal office. Only the federal constitution can do that.
I see, okay.
And the federal constitution has no residency requirements in it to run for U.S. Senate. That's why you see Senator Clinton, or former First Lady Hillary Clinton, was able immediately after in 2000 to run for Senate in New York. And Robert F. Kennedy
Robert did, I remember that.
did the same
Yes,
thing in the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is a funny joke. I think it's quite catchy. Is that someone needs to? The joke is that Senator or Scott Brown needs a lesson in constitutional law, because the Constitution does permit every state to have 2 senators. It does not let every senator have 2 states, though. And
So there's
so there's that joke going around.
Yeah.
But it's right now I think Senator Shaheen in that race is anywhere I've seen 10 points up or 11 points up in polls, because I think New Hampshire knows how long she's been fighting for New Hampshire, and is recognizing that.
Well, we thank you very much,
Well, thank you. I
Senator,
love
to
coming.
be with us and enlightening us on the whole procedure and things. I find it very interesting. And we'll probably have you back again between the general and the primary.
Okay.
And
Great.
see how that turned out. We can talk about the potentials all over with as this and that works out.
Right.
So we thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So this concludes another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. And we'll be back next week with another exciting guest. Until then.